Yes, I know. This is not a spooky season movie. I know. I know you're probably thinking, what the hell is this guy doing bringing another anime related thing into another marathon? Well, it's because there's a new one coming. Very soon, as a matter of fact. It's supposedly coming out this Friday. I'm not going to be able to see it because I'm going to a wedding, so. Unfortunately, that review will be a little late, but the least I can do before I go is cover the other three. Not to mention, I've wanted to cover these movies for a while now, especially after putting the third movie, World Heroes Mission, on my best list last year. So, or was it 2022? 2022. I think it was 2022. On the 2022 best list was the third movie, and I never really got to go full in depth with that. So, yeah, we're talking about it, and we're talking more My Hero. Deal with it. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, which is your fan of animation, including TV and movies as well. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome to a little crossover between Halloween X4 and Academia April, because we're talking about the MHA movies that have been theatrically released so far. For those of you that don't know, before we get to the new one, we have three of them. We have this one, Two Heroes, we have Heroes Rising, and we have World Heroes Mission, which just came out 2 years ago. So, with the anime coming close to an end, it's more than likely that this fourth movie is going to be the final movie of the franchise. So, I wanted to go all big, all out with it, because I am a huge My Hero fan. If you saw my Academia April reviews from a while back, I love this series. I have always loved this show, and it is always going to be a part of me. It's no Dragon Ball Z, but I absolutely love and adore this show, and I will take whatever opportunity possible to talk about it. So let's talk about Two Heroes, a movie that I didn't get to see until 2021, because I wasn't reviewing professionally when this movie first came out. And unfortunately, I didn't really get to see it until that point for numerous reasons, but I finally got to see it in 2021, and I loved it. I was so surprised how much I liked it, because the reviews I've seen on it are kind of in the middle. And I can kind of understand that because some of them are coming from casuals, but even some of the fans were a bit mixed on it. So I went into it in 2021, obviously a little bit hesitant, take off the rose-colored glasses of the show being awesome, put on my reviewing hat, and get ready to see where it goes. And it turned out to be amazing. Now, watching it again, 2 years later, 2 or 3 years later, whatever, I gotta say, it's still amazing. But it's amazing if you're a fan of the show. If you're not, you're gonna notice a lot of problems, and it may or may not bore you a little bit. But if you are a fan of the show, you are going to love this one if you have, for some other reason, not seen it yet. You need to check it out. Heck, the freaking Blu-ray is only $10 on Amazon. You have no excuse. So, I have a pretty decently long written review for this one, and I promise I will keep spoilers out of it so you can go into it as fresh as possible. So, here's my review. I hope you guys enjoy. Is this a spooky season movie? No. Does it have anything to do with Halloween? No. However, with the fourth installment coming out this Friday and the third movie making my best list a few years ago, and like I said, the anime itself is coming to an end as it's currently on its final season, I think it's finally time to take a look back at all the My Hero Academia feature films and see how they hold up today, starting with Two Heroes. This was a very big deal when it came out back in the late 2010s, because this was the first time that the franchise ever made the jump to the big screen, and possibly thanks to the DBZ films Battle of Gods and Resurrection F that were released beforehand, it's actually canon to the mainline lore. Yes, this is following the DBS movie template of being actually canon to the manga and the show, which I didn't understand at first because it didn't seem like it was canon, but thankfully fans in servers and conversations were able to correct me very quickly. Otherwise, I would have said it wasn't canon and I'd come off as just misinformation. However, I didn't get to see it right away due to life stuff, but around, I want to say 2021, I finally got to see it for the first time and absolutely loved it. But how does it hold up almost 10 years later since its initial release? Well, there's only one way to find out. Pros: incredible animation. It's the strongest thing about anything related to My Hero Academia. it always has amazing animation. Always. Like, I love the animation of Dragon Ball Z and the Tournament of Power arc of Dragon Ball Super, but the only thing that can compare to My Hero Academia on an animation level is Demon Slayer. And they're both pretty neck and neck, honestly. And in this movie, fantastic animation. Everything's fluid, everything is smooth. There's no like weird out of model shots like you did with like Goku versus Cell, for example. Yes, I'm gonna keep bringing that up because it's the funniest thing that I can remember from this Cell saga. So yeah, animation is always gonna be incredible, no matter what My Hero Academia related thing it is. Fantastic voice acting. I mean, you have a couple Dragon Ball voice actors in here, including Christopher Sabat, continuing to be the great voice of All Might. But then you have Justin Briner as Deku, who's freaking awesome. Clifford Chaplin as Bakugo, who many of you don't know is the voice of Kaba in Dragon Ball Super. He's amazing in here. Like, there is so... I could name off so many cast members, but if I do that, we're going to be here all day. But point is, voice acting is fantastic. Again, just like the show. Outstanding action. This movie delivers what you want from My Hero Academia. Lots and lots of wild, crazy action. Now, it is a little bit slower than the other movies, which I know for a fact, but there's still plenty of action here. It's very spaced out between all the characters, but you do get a healthy amount of action here, and the final battle was freaking sick as hell. So, yeah, very cool. Very cool, outstanding action. Pretty good villain. I can't say more about it because it ties directly into a spoiler, but it's a pretty good villain. He's pretty good. He's no All For One or Dabi, no, but he is a pretty good villain. Fast pacing. This movie, I think it's even less than 2 hours long, which for a movie released nowadays, that is a rarity. So the pacing is lightning fast. Like, it starts out a little bit slow with all the setup stuff, but as soon as it gets to the action, it just puts the freaking foot into the gas pedal and slams. Like, it is so fast paced, but it doesn't feel rushed at the same time. I know that sounds a bit like an oxymoron, but trust me when I say that's literally what I get out of it. Pretty high stakes, not the highest stakes of all the movies. The other two movies have much higher stakes than this, but it's still pretty high stakes. A great balance of screen time between all the characters, something that a lot of movies like this continuously fail at. Like, so many movies with big casts like this always struggle to give enough screen time to each character. However, in Two Heroes, everyone gets a good amount of screen time. Yes, you have characters like Deku and Bakugo and All Might who get the majority of it, but you still get good screen time for like Yaoyorozu, Todoroki, Uraraka, Ida, Kirishima. Like, they all get a time to shine throughout the movie. Is it a little bit more brief than the main characters of the actual movie? Yes, but they still balance it well, and it doesn't feel rushed or phoned in. Where is it? Amazing final battle, I already talked about that. Brisk runtime, I already talked about that. And very high rewatchability. I try to rewatch this movie a bit often, but because of life and a million other things, not to mention being a YouTuber that has to keep up with all the new releases, I don't get a whole lot of time. But when I do, I definitely make sure to watch this movie as much as I can, at least once a year, especially when I'm rewatching My Hero Academia. That being said, though, this movie's not perfect. There are some issues we do need to talk about that have stuck through my previous watch. The first con, and obviously the biggest one, is that the story is very simplistic. Most of the story of this movie is about the characters fighting through multiple floors of this tower, reaching the top where the main villain is. Which is something we've seen done numerous times before in both animation and live action. But it's by no means bad here, but it is a bit simplistic. So if you're expecting like a big grandiose story, something like Dragon Ball Super Broly, for example, you're going to be disappointed, because that's not what this is. The writing is a tad inconsistent towards the second half. There are a little bit of head-scratching moments with some of the character moments and dialogue, and a few written lines here and there, or just things that they end up doing in the plot, don't really fit. It's hard to explain, but once you see it for yourself, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying here. Either that or I'll just sound like a dumb, crazy person. Whichever. The romance subplot between Deku and a new character goes absolutely nowhere, making it ultimately pointless. Yeah, why was there a romance subplot in this movie? Like, it had no point. It had absolutely no point. Was it cute? Yes, but it didn't go anywhere. Like, she's not in any of the other movies, and she's not even in the freaking show. So, like, why? Why throw in this random romance subplot? Why? It's so weird to me why they threw that in there. Overall, though, it's a fantastic watch for fans of the anime, but for everyone else, it might be a little bit more difficult to get through. You don't have to be completely caught up with the anime to watch it and enjoy it, but having that knowledge does add a good extra enjoyability to the experience. Especially if you're someone who can actually figure out where this falls in the actual timeline of the show. So, regardless, I had a blast viewing this again, and I can definitely recommend watching it at least once. And if you're a fan of the anime, it's going to give you everything you want. It has its problems, but it is a lot of fun to watch. And because of that, I'm actually going to give this movie 2 final verdicts, because I can't really decide one way or the other for the other side. So, for casuals, it's a 7. It's a 7 out of 10 for the casuals. Those that just want to go in watching a fun, action-packed animated movie without context. But if you're a huge fan of the show, you understand the context, and you really, really are invested in these characters, it's going to give you even more than that. So, because of that, final verdict for fans, including myself, is an 8 out of 10. This is a great movie for fans, and a pretty good animated film for casuals. Check it out if you haven't already, and I wouldn't be surprised if it got some people into My Hero Academia. Because, like I said, this is the first time it was ever on the big screen. But far from the last. Well, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this almost every single day. And stay tuned because we still have 2 more My Hero movies to review. And that starts off with the movie that includes one of the greatest moments in anime history. It's going to be really hard for me not to spoil it because it is one of the most incredible moments I've ever seen in anime, period. Right up there with Gogeta vs. Broly. Yes, it really is that good. I'll tell you all about next time when we get to My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising.
Lesson I want to forget, so listen and you won't regret. Be true to yourself, don't miss your chance, and you won't end up like the fool who really